Mate, he is jumping all over the place.
Yeah, it's been
I think
annoying.
you should stay on that side. It'll be alright.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Right. That was lucky.
Mate, I was like doing really well at not coughing that much as well. I was really happy with myself.
Right, we'll go again.
Yeah,
it's going to 40 seconds. Right, we're straight.
Enjoy talking about that.
All right, we'll just
one out.
We'll just go again. So we'll probably we'll see what happens.
We should maybe even say that.
Yeah.
This is round 2, guys.
Guys, welcome back to take 2. We were just recording this before and the fucking mic turned off and it wasn't recording. So welcome back. Yeah, that was good. We had a nice bit of a run for a couple of minutes, but welcome to the next episode of Subject to Change. Thanks guys for tuning in.
As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yep.
Follow us on Instagram.
Yep.
Like us on Facebook.
Yep.
Follow us on TikTok as well.
100%.
And follow our personal pages. Get them followed up.
Like, share, follow, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. Send it to your mum, dad, auntie, gardener, whoever's out there. Very excited. We have got the next guest on the show. I bumped into this guy a couple of weeks ago in Bondi. Follow him on TikTok, follow him on Instagram. So does Dwayne. Really like his stuff. Went up to him and asked him if he wanted to come on the podcast, and he did. Drew Derriman. He is a dating coach tailored towards men. Welcome, mate. Introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, so while I do help men with their dating life, I like to say that the concepts I do teach help them in all aspects of life.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome. And how did you first get into doing what you're doing? Like, what was your kind of route there?
Yeah, so I started off I was a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to help people in a different aspect of life, not just with their physical health. So I moved into online coaching. I picked a few different niches, like helping actors and models get in shape for photo shoots and films, helping fitness entrepreneurs, or helping men become fitness entrepreneurs. Nothing really felt in tune with who I am and what I want to help people with. And then I started helping men with their dating life. And I really enjoyed that because, like I said, the concepts, the things I would teach them, I would see that it would help them in so many aspects of their lives. You know, they weren't just coming back and saying I had a great interaction with a woman. Yeah. They're saying I'm feeling a lot happy about myself, more confident. Thank you for helping me become the man I want to become.
That's nice.
So
that's awesome stuff.
That's
awesome.
In terms of, obviously, you're helping men within their dating life, I assume that as you coach these men and teach them, I don't know, how to approach women, do you find that there's aspects of their life that also needs a little bit of fine tune in order to get them to that stage? You have to like kind of look at them kind of quite holistically. Like there's so many aspects of your life going around. If you got financial issues, have you got trouble with your family, have you got trouble with your job, and that could actually have that effect as to why they're probably not confident enough to speak to
Great
women?
question. 100%.
Yeah.
Within the first consultation I have with the guys, I always just sit down and just get them to just talk. Just tell me about themselves.
Yeah.
And within that, I start to see if there's anything we need to focus on first, and then I start tailoring the program towards them.
That's awesome. Sorry, Oakley just went on a massive sprint there.
I know a question you asked before. What's the kind of common theme that you've had like coming up when like with your clients and the kind of people you deal with? Because I imagine after a while there are a few themes that come up over and over again. What's like the kind of theme that does come up quite often?
I would say self-worth is a big one. I'd say learning to accept who you are, your strengths and your weaknesses. Because if you're constantly trying to impress people or trying to become a better person out of fear or out of feeling like you're not good enough, it will be just this constant hamster wheel of self-development. So there's got to become a point in which you say to yourself, I've got this.
Yeah. And you've got this for you and not for any external factors kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm checking it's recording. It is recording.
Yeah.
I've
looked a few times.
So yeah, to answer your question, I would say self-worth is a big one. If there's any other that's come to mind, any other topics, I'll definitely I'll bring them up. But yeah, first and foremost, I'd say
sweet,
self-worth.
Awesome. So yeah, we have like a few little, well, not little, these are pretty big topics that we want to go in. But I think the first one that we wanted to go into is a bit about porn.
Let's crack one out and get into it.
Yeah. And obviously, people have a lot of negative experiences with porn, and some people have positives. But in terms of your role as what you do with men, what do you find in general are men's relationship with porn and how it affects them in their day-to-day life?
Yeah, great question. I would say that the overuse of watching pornography and masturbation can lead them to feel inhibited to talk to women and to even have a social life, to handle tension in life, to step into their fears. So I prefer to phrase that more in the positive, meaning like if you can learn to withhold from watching porn, learn to transmute your sexual energy, then it will allow you to be able to handle tension better, which I'm happy to talk about in more detail.
Yeah.
Face your fears, approach women, live the life you want to live, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't self-pleasure, but you need to find the balance.
I've found definitely like just cracking too many out after a while, it just clouds my head a little bit. I just find just too many. Yeah, I completely get what the benefits of like, sustaining from it sometimes and taking a bit of a break. Definitely.
Yeah, and I think as you kind of touched on the tension thing, which I want you to go into a little bit of detail because we kind of touched on it before we started, how the tension that you can build whenever you don't do it, especially when you're communicating with a girl, because obviously whenever you do masturbate and you have that release, there's like there's a less sense of urgency to. It's like every guy out there knows this, and any woman that doesn't. I'm about to spill
you can't give out the
I'm about to spill some tea.
Don't do it. We haven't spoken to the council.
Most men know that if they're ever thinking about meeting up with a girl in an evening and they're always 50-50, a lot of men will knock one out, and if they still want to after they've knocked one out, they go and see her, and if they don't, they just roll over and go to bed.
I don't know what you're talking about, mate. No idea what the fuck you're talking about.
But it's a thing. But it's a thing. But it is a thing, and I'm sure like you've coaching men quite a bit. You've come across that sort of situation where if they have this unhealthy relationship with masturbating or with pornography, their desire to go out and meet women is very little, and also when they do go out, that whole tension that you mentioned is probably not as high as it should be. But can you like go into a little bit of detail, because probably people are probably hearing us say tension and they have no idea what tension are we talking about.
Sure. So maybe let's define tension first. Tension can be also known as fear, anxiety. Just think about when you feel hungry, right? You feel tension, and then you break that tension by going to eat. But what happens when you go for a day without eating? How good does that food taste? Similarly, when you're creating sexual tension with a woman, if you just rush in and kiss her or just rush into sex, it's pleasurable. But there's an art to learning how to build sexual tension, how to build that arousal, so that when you do touch her, kiss her, start having sex, it feels so much better. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is that how you handle tension will be a huge indicator to if women find you attractive or not, or to how attractive they find you. So when you're feeling an urge to want to masturbate, there's tension, right? And then you watch pornography and you break that tension. So when it comes to interacting with a woman, maybe you're on a date and you've cracked one out. Maybe you decide to go on the date. You've cracked one out, you're having a conversation, and then there's a silence. Feel the tension? Feel the tension already. There's a silence. But you can't handle that silence. You're not okay with the silence. And so you feel the need to ask a question to break the tension.
Yeah.
And so what is subcommunicated, which is something else we can talk about, is the two conversations that are always going on. I ask you this question, but I'm not really interested in your answer. I'm just asking you that question because I'm not comfortable with tension. You know when people ask you, what do you do for work? You know, and you're like, and you have that feeling like this person doesn't want to know what I do for work, right?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. That's what's being subcommunicated. And I tell you, man, women are very in tune with what is being subcommunicated. Yeah. They're very in tune with social cues. So it's not always about what you're saying. It's why you're saying it.
Yeah.
how you're saying it. So
Body
there's
language as well.
Yeah, body language. Yep, that's how you're saying it.
Yeah.
So there's always two conversations going on: what's being said and what's not being said. So your ability to handle tension with how you hold yourself, how you embrace silences, how you hold eye contact. These are the things that not many people speak about. A lot of dating coaches speak about what to say, the perfect pickup line, what you need to do to tease her, speak. It's all verbal.
I'll try that next time I'm on a date. She asks me a question, just go dead silent, just stare at her and see what happens.
Honestly, give it a go.
So have you had a good day today?
If you just saw his look was like...
It's probably not meant to be used that way.
The focus is not to try to do it. It's more of a dance. You know, like when you're with someone, think about a date, a really good date that you've been on. You haven't really been in your head. It's been flowing. It's been flowing, right? You're not trying to do things. You're just being yourself. So it's not about necessarily trying to do things. It's about more being aware of them. It's like we're having a conversation now and there's a silence.
Yeah, that's the thing. You like when you go on a first date or a date, you know halfway through the date if it's going well.
Yeah.
Within yourself, because for me, when I go on a date and I know it's going well, there's just, as you said, there's no real thought process behind what I'm saying and the conversation, because for some reason the conversation just flows from one to the other, and I know I'm probably not having I may be having a great date, but I know, okay, maybe there's no compatibility here if like I find myself like thinking, okay, what am I going to say next? And I've also been in date where I've been in silence and neither of us felt awkward because we were so comfortable with the silence. Like I feel like when you're quite confident within yourself and you're self-aware and you know you as a person, like silence there's nothing wrong with that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes silence is a good thing, almost giving you a chance to kind of collect your thoughts and go again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think I definitely know that a lot now more than before. When I first started dating, I think I was getting like, I had a bit like Dutch courage before going on dates.
A little Dutch courage used to get smashed.
I don't know what Dutch courage is.
Oh, you never heard of it? Dutch courage is like, the definition is like you get a bit boozy before going somewhere.
You take a few drinks.
You get a bit of courage, you get a bit of Dutch courage.
Yeah.
So when I first became single and I moved to Bondi, I'd never like been on a date before. I'd like backpacked, one night stands, was in 2 very long-term relationships, but I'd never been on a date. I'd never done this until I was 28 years old. So the first few dates I went on, I got like steamed because I didn't know how to handle it. I was in the flat and I was like pouring myself a vodka lime soda, and I had one and then like 4. And I was like, oh, this is really tasty. And I poured a soda water bottle full of like vodka lime soda and took it with me to the date. And drank it outside.
He crashed my date.
I crashed his date.
He came to the same restaurant that I did. And like came upstairs. We've already told this story in the podcast, but he came upstairs, like did a lap around us. And I pointed at him like, that's my housemate. I was like, what are you doing? I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And then he's like, oh, mate. No, the first time he pretended he didn't see me. And he just walked, and then he came back a bit again, and then he stopped and talked with me. And my date was just like, where's your date? And he was like, downstairs. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing up here? And then he just went. He was absolutely smashed. I don't think he saw her again.
I didn't see her again, surprisingly.
Yeah, I was about to say, surprisingly.
You're definitely a lot better now, though.
Yeah, so like going to that, like I definitely wasn't as comfortable with that then, but I think it takes a bit of practice. Like if you not really like have a lot of experience in dating, it's quite hard. So like how do you give someone that knowledge if they haven't really dated that much? How do you kind of like give them tips to get out of their head so they can deal with those things? Like
there's a few ways. I would firstly say fail forward.
I heard this on your recent TikTok video.
Yeah,
I really like this. I really like this. Yeah.
It's about being okay with rejections. Failure is the recipe for success. So you can't expect to achieve anything of great success, something that people want to obtain without going through a bit of failure and rejection.
Yeah.
I believe learning is in the doing too. A lot of guys have a tendency to want to learn all the information, but you can learn in the doing. What else? Could you just clarify the question again?
What was the question I just said?
what is it? Oh, about
Rejection. This was it.
handling the tips. Yeah.
How can you give someone the tips if they haven't really had a lot of experience in dating to get out of their own head and like be comfortable with that silence? You know, like how if someone who hasn't dealt with that before.
Two other things that come to mind. Women won't judge you for your imperfections. They'll judge you for how you handle your imperfections.
Yes, that is. Love that.
I've said this before. They don't care about the imperfections.
Yeah.
But it's just how as you said, how you react to that. Are you going to be a child about?
Yes.
I don't know. For example, if you like are having sex with a girl and you come in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
They don't care as long as like you're not gonna like be this insecure little kid about it and like huff and then whatever. They'll be like, it's fine. We'll just whenever you're ready, we'll go again.
Yeah, especially if you pre-warn them as well. I've heard my friend had that quite a few times actually. It's fucking hot in here, bro. It's really. Whew.
If you warn them, they can't really be annoyed.
Do you know what I mean? But I handle it with confidence, though. I handle it with confidence. I pop the kettle on them. What are you doing? We'll be back here in a minute. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but even besides that sex, but even something like as small as like, if you're bringing a drink over to the girl and you drop it.
Yeah.
She doesn't care.
Confidence is
just
massive.
Go and get another drink.
Yeah, confidence is being confident in being unconfident.
100%. I like definitely have experienced that.
The other.
I definitely experienced that before. If you're gonna fuck up, at least like just be confident and ride it out because they'll like that. They'll definitely will like it and they'll vibe with it so much. You can handle yourself.
In terms of like the men that you've coached and the rejection aspect of it, what's your recommendation and what's your experience and how best for men to handle that sort of stuff? Because a lot of people don't like rejection. Some people are comfortable with getting it and they can just carry on and go again and go again and go again because law of averages kind of vibe. Whereas some people wouldn't be really willing to put themselves in a position to be rejected. Like for me, when it comes to women, I'm not a massive fan of like approaching a girl just out of the blue. Like I wouldn't stop a random girl if I thought she's beautiful in the street and say hello. Like that's not my thing.
Do you mind if I ask why?
Because he gets approached. Because he gets approached all the fucking time. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It's not even that. For one, I've spoken to a lot of female friends about this, and a lot of them say that they feel quite uncomfortable many times when guys do that. And people say, "Oh, like if they find you attractive, they're not going to feel uncomfortable." And it's like, yeah, but if they find you attractive, they'll give you a sign. Like they'll maybe give you a look. They maybe look back twice. If you're walking past them and you look back and they're looking back, it's kind of like, okay, that might be a slight indication. But I know I would have friends that would approach girls without any indication, and it just baffles me. Not even like in a bar is different because you're in a bar, it's kind of a sociable thing, but like just like on the beach. And I've said this
I like before. That though. I like that. I think that's
the beach thing.
I like that. I think at the end of the day, people have got so used to sitting on their phone behind dating apps and waiting for it. The point is they might not see you, but you should be far more concerned with regret than rejection. So you might as well go up, see if they're interested and shoot your shot, because what it does, it builds confidence in you. So when the time does come up where you do want to approach someone, you don't care. You've done it so much that it's just like water off a duck's back.
Yeah, well, my argument isn't about from the male point of view; it's from the woman's point of view. Because a lot of women, I've literally asked them, it's like, what do you think of this? Like, if I'm lying on the beach and I've not looked at you, don't come and stand over me and trying to get my number. It's just annoying. And then you also have to think about people's lives, what they've been through. You don't know who these people are. They could extreme situation. They could have been through something where someone has approached them on the beach before. They've maybe decided to go on a date and shit went sideways and they've had a bad experience. So they're lying on the beach again and some other good looking dudes come up being like, hey, what are you saying? Can I get your number? They were like, no, man. Like, why leave me alone? I'm on my lunch break.
In this example, though, if someone approaches someone and they're like, they're not a twat about it and they're just like, hey, how's your day going? And straight away, they like close you off with like a close-ended sentence. You pick up the vibe, leave straight away.
Yeah.
But I I can't see how anyone would get irritated, but I don't know. I'm saying this from like a male perspective,
Yeah.
but if that was me, I'd be like, number one, it's quite an ego stroke. Someone's come up to me, it's quite confident they've come up, they think I'm attractive, they clearly want to ask my number. I'm not interested, thanks very much, have a nice day. Regardless whether they say that or not, is that really an issue if someone just goes, hey, to start a conversation, they go, oh, I'm just not really interested. Okay, no worries, sweet, and walk off. In that scenario, has that really impeded their day that much?
You don't know. You don't know? Like that silence?
Yeah, no, I was like
what do you think about that? What's your opinion on...
You're
it's
right.
all very subjective, obviously.
Yeah.
Situations are very
Sometimes a woman could respond a bit out of proportion because maybe she has an experience like that. So coming back to your question with regarding rejection, sometimes it's not the guy's fault. Like he might go up and say the perfect thing, but she might have had an experience on the beach with another completely different guy and a really horrible experience, and you reminded her of him, right? So it's not always the guy's fault, right? But in saying that, I do agree with you in the sense of if you approach a woman and you do it in the right way, it's going to make her day, regardless of if she has a boyfriend or not. It's just learning how to do it in a respectful manner. Also, what you said, it's learning to read social cues. If she's giving you one-word responses, how her body language is facing, how you feel when you're talking to her. Like if you feel like you have to force conversation with her, she's probably not interested.
Yeah.
In saying that too, yes, women do give you signs to approach them. And if you can become aware of these, then you're going to have a lot better interactions. But in saying that also, I do encourage men to go after what they want. Yeah. If you see something that you want, you go after it, period.
Yeah.
It's a very multifaceted and...
so many landmines everywhere.
So many layers to... It's a very intricate line to walk because obviously there's... Yeah.
I think it's be respect. The bottom line is, I think, go up and read social cues, and if someone says no, or even they don't have to say no, but if they're not giving you like a conversational, response, just pick up and just walk away.
Yeah,
and it's just but not doing it in a way that oh fuck you then, but all right, no worries, enjoy your day, thanks for your time, sweet, and then just leave, and then you've left them with a nice experience as well. But where do we go off to this point?
No, I was just about to say, I think it's just because so many women have had so many bad experiences with men that I feel like it's very important that we are very careful in how we approach that. And I'm sure that's definitely something you do with your men as well. It's teaching you how to be more confident in life with women, but then there's also as you said, how to navigate that situation as well. Yeah,
definitely. I would say there's two approaches you can take. Like if you see a woman that gives you the eyes, gives you a sign, you can approach her with your intent, but you can talk to people throughout the day, just talking to people, just being a friendly guy, like you said, not always being on your phone, just acknowledging people, doing what's called icebreakers. Where does the term icebreaker come from? It means, when you break the ice with someone, that's tension. You break the tension with them. So when you're walking down the street and you don't know where to look and someone's walking in your direction, just look at them and smile. Just acknowledge people, man. Even just a hi. It doesn't have to be chatting up women 24/7. It can be talking to the granny in the shopping center. This is still going to help build your confidence, your social awareness, your communication skills.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think if people do that, do those little 1%ers every day, I think it just builds up like a...
Yeah, you love talking about your little 1%ers.
Yeah, work on. If you get 1% better every single day, 365% better at the end of the year.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's not a bad stat.
But I'll just come back onto one other thing, if I may.
Yeah, of course.
Around rejection. If you accept yourself, like I was talking about before, if you come into an interaction, firstly, if you learn anything, I believe that there needs to be a point in which you say to yourself, especially when it's in social interactions, that you have to let go of all of that, as opposed to coming into thinking, what do I need to say? What do I need to do? I'm coming into this party. I need to do this, thing to impress people. You need to let go of all of that and just accept yourself. Just accept this is who I am, my strengths and my weaknesses, and say something to yourself, something empowering, like, I've got this.
Yeah.
All right? Because when you do that, when you accept yourself, then you're okay with yourself and other people will accept you. But if you're constantly thinking about what you need to do to become better, impress people, be the life of the party, the perfect pickup line to say to a woman. You're constantly giving out this energy that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Right? And then that can come out in your tonality, which I was saying is a huge part of communication. So it's like, if you come up and you say, hi, that's like a rapport-seeking tonality.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's why it hasn't worked.
Yeah, I see you as more superior to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've subcommunicated that through how I'm saying hello. And you can feel that.
Yeah.
And you might play power moves on me. You might manipulate me. But if I say to myself, accept myself, I've got this.
Yeah.
I see people as equal. I come in, hi.
Confident
I don't feel the need to impress you. You know, we're here. If we vibe, we vibe like we're doing now. We're having a great time.
Yeah.
If we don't, we don't.
I like that. Yeah, I like that.
That's because at the end of the day, we all need to realize that we all have our own insecurities, and everyone else in the room has their own insecurities. And I think I've said this to you before, Dan. It's just like us as humans are so like interested in how we are perceived by everyone else.
Non-PC.
Yeah. But like you walk in a party and we're also concerned about how we look to everyone else. But then you need to think like everyone else is probably feeling the exact same. They're more worried about what they're doing. So like if you want to be that confident guy that you know you can be, you should do it. And same with women. If you want to be that confident woman that you want to be, you should do it, because you're worried about what everyone's thinking of you, but everyone else in the room is probably worried about what you're thinking of them. You know what I mean?
You said this thing recently. Would you want to say what it was?
So there's this thing called non-PC. It's pretty much means non-playing characters. So what I describe this as is whenever you're, I don't know, if you're out in public and you want to do something like you want to take a photo in front of a picture, or a photo in front of like a
TikTok
mural,
dance in public,
or do a TikTok dance in at a train station, and you're really worried about the people walking past, and you're like, oh my goodness, they're all staring at me. I just said non-PC, and you're like, what's that? It's like non-playing characters. That person walking past is a non-playing character in your life. You're never going to see them ever again. So if they look at you and think, oh, that person dancing in front of their phone, weird, they're going to let you walk past you, get in their train, go home, and never think of you ever again. Ever again. And I used this example the other day, and I'm only remembering it because I purposely remembered it because I wanted to use this as an example. I was walking to get the bus on Bondi Road. This guy's coming down the street on a skateboard, and he literally hits like an edge, and he flips off it. He was fine. He landed on his feet, landed, boom, 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 picks up the skateboard and walks off on it. And I'm thinking, fuck, that could have been bad. And he's probably so embarrassed, thinking about everyone around him, looking at him, worried. And I got in the bus, and within like 30 seconds, I'd completely forgot about it. And it clicked with me again, because it was a time when I was thinking about that non-PC thing. And I was in the gym, and then I was like, I literally forgot about that dude that fell off that skateboard as soon as I got on that bus, or even before that. And that just goes to show you how little people really do like think about the shit that they're seeing in public. Saw that guy almost fall and hurt himself really bad, but within a 30-second time frame, it was gone. So that's why it's something where, as you said, when someone walks into a party and you maybe feel a little bit self-conscious about how you want to approach a girl or whatever, like just do it, because even if it doesn't go well, 9 times out of 10, that girl is, and 9 times out of 10, if it goes bad, that girl after that party is not going to remember that interaction. They're just going to go on with your day. And same thing as you should, if you're trying to be that confident person. If it doesn't go well, move on. There's plenty of fish in the sea, as they say, literally.
Yeah, agreed.
Isn't there?
Agreed.
Non-PC.
Non-PC,
I like it.
non-playing characters.
So I think that kind of leads into coming back to also facing rejection is going out there and breaking social norms.
Okay.
So that's something I actually get my clients to do is I will create a challenge for them, whether they can do that in 1 day, over a week, or over 30 days, depending on where they're at. And I'll give them a list of things they can do, usually from lowest to highest, meaning easiest to hardest, on things to break social norms. So number 1, for someone who's riddled with anxiety, might be just going outside for 5 minutes. And then the next day it's 10 minutes. Maybe it's going to a shopping center. Then from there we move up. It's called leveling. Yeah. Right? They do this in psychology too, when you get therapy. And then maybe, so the other day I was hugging a tree with a client. You know, I do this with my clients. I'm hugging a tree, and man, I was nervous to hug the tree. I'm closing my eyes, like I'm thinking all those thoughts. You know, I wonder if someone on TikTok knows me. I wonder if Brain walks by. It's like we don't want this guy on the podcast anymore. He's hugging trees.
I saw him hugging a tree the other day. What the fuck
I'm
was
meant
that
to be
guy
seeing you
doing?
in 30 minutes. What are you doing?
So man, I did that. I accepted it. I accepted myself, and I said, "This is for me." You know, continued hugging the tree. So we move up. You know, we move up in levels, and when you do something that, like I was speaking about earlier, is such a break from a social norm. When you do something so outrageous, going up and saying hello to someone becomes so easy because you've done something that's broken such a social norm.
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of overcoming rejections too, and overcoming your fears, and stepping into more tension in life.
So in terms of the levels, are the levels quite generalized? So do you say one is the same for everyone, or would one be different for one client compared to another? So say someone's able to go out and communicate with a random person in the supermarket, would that be a 1 to them, and then their 10 would be something higher to someone who's like, oh, I actually find it really awkward even just speaking to someone at a till in Woolies. Like, are there levels to 1, or is it like, okay, this is the lowest that someone can be, and then 10 is like you're able to go and chat to any girl you want?
Great question.
Yeah.
So what I do is, because there are so many things, it's not like you jump from, like, let's say level 1 is going outside to level 2 is going up and saying hello to someone.
Yeah.
You know, it's a gradual process in moving up. And that's why I say that the clients have the option to do it in a day, over a week, or over months, you know, because maybe someone with anxiety needs to get used to going outside for just 5 minutes a day. I also say that it is my subjective opinion on where these sit, where these challenges, or where these things that you go out and do, where they sit on in regards to the level of tension or vulnerability. And if something feels like a higher level, then just adjust accordingly. Adjust accordingly. So that's another way you can definitely step into your fears and have some fun too.
Yeah.
You know, like so many guys go out nowadays and wonder what to do. You know, like just sit in a club, and life's supposed to be fun.
Yeah. Like that stage, that courting stage should be enjoyable for both parties. Like it's the part. I actually said to someone the other day, it's like, do you ever worry about if you go on a date, like you're gonna run out of things to say? I'm just like, I'm 20 years old, and you're 25. We literally have. I have 28 years of living, and you've 25 years living. How are we gonna run out of things to talk about on a first date?
Yeah,
and they're like, oh yeah, that's fair. It's like, you literally have a whole life that you've lived before we've come in contact. There's no way on a first date you should ever be run out of things to talk. Even if it's not even a first date or not even a great date. I'm like, if you've lived 28 years,
always got something to go off, and
you've been and say she's 25 and you've both lived a life. I've lived in Jamaica, Northern Ireland, and Australia, and I've travelled. I've got so much shit to talk about.
Yeah, but here's the kicker. Most guys feel inhibited. I don't like to say most guys, but there are guys that feel inhibited to talk about those experiences. Yeah. And they might have a tendency to talk in facts, like, I've lived in Jamaica.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. But why did you live in Jamaica?
Yeah.
And tell me about the emotion. Let me change it, right?
Yeah.
I lived in Jamaica because I love the people there. Yeah. Their energy is so inspiring and motivating, and it has opened up all these different aspects to how I see the world.
Yeah.
Now we've gone from I live in Jamaica to
a whole plethora of
we're connecting. We're connecting on a deeper level.
Yeah. We talked about this in the last podcast. On the last podcast, there's a guy we follow. You might have heard of him, Matthew Hussey.
Yeah,
he's wicked. Love his content. And one of the things he says is, when you're going to speak with like intent. So don't just say I'm a great, I'm into adventures. What do you like doing that's adventurous? So a lot of people on their Hinge profile, they'll say, things about me you want to know. I'm adventurous, and that's it. I'm like, well, you're not really giving me much to go off. So if I was to slide into your Hinge profile and write something, instead of being like, you'll catch me sitting by the fire with a can of 50 lashes, and I don't know, whatever. You've got something that you can go in with, that you can like match them on conversation.
Yeah.
When people just say I'm adventurous, it's like, it's just dead. It's just boring. There's just nothing to go on. There's just nothing behind that conversation. So yeah, when you're going to say something, don't just say what it is, but give some like story behind it, so you can give someone to go off.
Yeah, and the way you do that is by talking about the why. Like, why do you like being adventurous?
Adding like emotion to it.
Yeah.
And adding emotion. Because there is a social stigma that men feel like expressing their emotions is weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it can be hard for guys to talk about why they like something or talk with emotion.
Yeah.
There's a lot of clients that come to me that just talk very monotone and not with any emotion.
Yeah.
That's hard to connect with, man. Women connect on an emotional level.
Is that one of the things I know you had here? Was it emotions versus weakness?
Yeah, so there was I wrote some notes about that too. We can jump into that if you want.
Yeah, for sure.
What's your guys' understanding? Like, how about we just continue where we were off?
Yeah. So,
regarding because I feel, Dwayne, you have something you want to say first.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say, it was a question quickly in terms of that. So for me, I find that in order for me to open up to someone or to even speak about myself, like I need you to ask me a question. Like I'm not the type of person that's gonna openly like come up to you and like start like unwinding. Like rarely would I ever do that. And it's the same with whenever I'm communicating or if I'm on a date. I'll happily ask questions and I'll happily listen to people talk.
Yeah.
Like I'm a listener. I love doing it. So for me, in order for me to tell someone that I used to live in Jamaica and why I lived in Jamaica, or how I ended up living in Ireland and how I ended up moving to Australia, like I'm not just gonna be like, oh yeah, so because a lot of people enjoy talking about themselves, but for me, in order for me to tell you that timeline as to why I went from here to here to here, like you're gonna have to ask me questions. And do you find like a lot of men that you deal with are like that, where obviously this actually will segue into the emotional weaknesses thing, because you find they're not able to do that because they feel like if they openly give out those parts of themselves, like the more in-depth parts. So like, for example, I moved to Ireland because my mum wanted a better life for me, and she knew that Ireland would have been a better opportunity for me to grow up and have this better life. Do you feel like men aren't willing to give out that information without those questions, or being pushed because, again, that would show emotion, and men may have a very negative connotation between emotion and weakness?
Yes.
You find that happens
I would say
a lot.
there's two aspects. I'd say that's one aspect, and the other aspect is vulnerability. By sharing something, you are asking a question requires you to put your ass on the line, right? But sharing something about yourself requires you to put your balls on the line.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that.
So when guys go up and talk to women, a number one complaint women have is they feel like they're being interviewed. Question, answer, right? So to get away from that, you can make statements, you can share things about yourself. So as opposed to saying, how's your day? It's a beautiful day today. I love how the wind feels on my face. Like, I know that sounds a bit robotic now,
Yeah.
but what that basically does, by me sharing something, it gives a part of me to you. I'm giving a part of me to you. It allows you to respond or not. I'm not asking you for a response.
Yeah.
I'm not as invested as I would be with a question. And yeah, it's a lot, because when it comes to, like you said, when it comes to opening up, you wouldn't open up unless someone asks you a question first.
Yeah.
But I bet you would open up if they were opening up about things.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if they were being vulnerable,
of course,
it would allow you to be more vulnerable.
100%.
I sorry. I always find like something my mate always taught me, like he called it like the go first principle. So I always open up with something vulnerable to get the other person to do the same. And I've always done that. I've done that in sales. It's something that we do in our job. And even before then, so I always open up something and show some sense of vulnerability, and that helps build friendships. It helps you connect to people quicker, and I don't mind it. I find it really easy to do, and I find that as soon as I do that, people just start being so comfortable and talking about themselves in such a way they don't really think about what they're saying anymore. Yeah. And I've had some people, be like, "You're very open." I'm like, I don't know. I just find it so easy and natural, and it makes me comfortable because I know it's going to make you comfortable in the long run. That we can have more of like a comfortable interaction.
Agreed. Yeah. You will find some people though that when you do open up, they don't. and you shouldn't feel obliged to be vulnerable with those type of people.
Yeah.
With someone who isn't willing to be vulnerable. So it's coming from a place of like, I'm not going to try to be like this, but I'm also not going to feel inhibited not to be vulnerable.
Yeah, if something comes up and I'm like, I don't mind saying this, then I'll be happy to just say it and, give that bit of information and then, see what back and forth comes from it.
Because obviously people, for you, obviously you've said like it's quite easy for you to be vulnerable. It's to help them feel more comfortable. But then also other people may want to be vulnerable when you've done it, but they're just probably not at that stage. But I also think if you've done that, be vulnerable with someone and they're not able to do it, I think it's up to that person to say, I really appreciate you being vulnerable, but I'm just not at a stage where I'm ready or
But that's
able.
vulnerability in itself,
Yeah.
That's true.
It takes more confidence to be able to. Loads of people wouldn't say that.
To just say, look, I want to, but... And again, it's like that leveling thing as well. It's like you're just slowly chipping away.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. That actually would be vulnerability. Like telling someone that I actually want to, but I'm not ready. If you give me a while longer.
That's another thing about owning your weaknesses is when, like we spoke about before, it's not about the imperfection. It's how you handle the imperfection. And when you do volunteer that information, like you said, you're basically saying that you're not that. You're not controlled by that. You're actually above that. When you can own that, you suddenly shift from being identified with that to kind of looking over it now. Like, for example, like when you say to someone openly that, look, I know we're speaking about previous, whatever it may be, previous sexual experiences or my dad dying or whatever it may be, but I don't feel like I can talk about that right now.
Yeah.
You're showing that you're above that. But in saying that too, vulnerability isn't just talking of like, we should clarify vulnerability for a lot of the audience because a lot of guys feel vulnerability is talking about very sad things and crying. Vulnerability is putting yourself in a situation where you can face criticism, rejection, or judgment. That's how I like to define it.
Yeah.
And you cannot be confident, funny, authentic without being vulnerable.
Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
It's very true.
As you said, just something like even just being funny, like trying to tell a joke. Like there's a chance they're just going to stare at you and think, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But you've put yourself in a position, as you said, to be critiqued and to be somewhat negatively judged, which is a form of vulnerability because, as you said, men see vulnerability as trying to be emotional and being sad, whereas like vulnerability is anything and everything that you can be. Vulnerability is you being angry. Shown that something that's been done has pissed you off. That's you being angry. I actually saw a very funny video the other day. It wasn't funny, but it was these guys talking on TikTok and they're saying, yo, you know what I hate? And they're like, what? It's like, people say men aren't emotional. And he's like, what? And it's like, men are more emotional than women. Anger is an emotion. I'm always fucking angry.
good work.
Like just because it's not deemed as like a feminine emotion doesn't mean it's not emotional. I'm fucking angry all the time. You see me walking down the street and I'm pissed off. That's emotion. And the rest of the podcast just started pissing themselves laughing because they didn't have a clue where it was going. It's like, yeah, anger is an emotion. Just because I'm not crying doesn't mean I'm not emotional. And it's true.
That's bars.
If you're pissed off, you're emotional.
Yeah. Probably you don't want to show that on the first date though.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. We had someone who say vulnerability is a form of seduction. I quite like that.
But this is where people control vulnerability.
Manipulation.
See, vulnerability, you can't be in control and be vulnerable at the same time.
Yeah.
And so when people hear that vulnerability, because if we're talking about vulnerable things right now, if I'm on a date and I'm talking about a vulnerable subject, it is a lot easier to sexualize the conversation if I'm already talking about a vulnerable. If I'm talking about how, I went out and did this crazy thing outdoors, and it's a lot easier to then talk about how I had or how she had a crazy outdoors sexual experience. It's a lot easier to transition. But it's a lot harder to talk about the weather and then go to a crazy sexual experience.
Yeah, true.
So yes, it can, but what you just want to be careful that you don't come into it trying to be vulnerable, so that you can get laid or use it through controlling. Remember, it's not trying to be vulnerable, but it's also not feeling inhibited to be vulnerable. So yes, you can have that in the back of your mind. Yes, like that by sharing more about yourself, that you might reach a deeper connection and you might be able to lead into more sexual experiences. But you just got to be careful with that.
Yeah, 100%.
Because trust me, man, I've done that.
Yeah.
When I learned about vulnerability, I was like, yes, let's go. I'll just start telling her about, all these things,
Hey,
I'm gonna
I'm Drew.
get laid.
Shag last night outside. You into that? I was going to get a drink first. All right then.
Yeah. So, yeah, trust me, my man. Like, I've made all the mistakes, so I can definitely relate to what the guys go through. So I've walked their path. I'm not someone that sits here and is perfect. I have my anxiety. I was anxious to come on the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, you've done very well so far.
I appreciate that, man. But that's come from an acceptance. Accepting that I did feel anxious.
Yeah.
Because what you resist will persist. So if I tried not to feel anxious,
then it's just
I would feel more anxious. So that's why I talk about that acceptance technique is so useful, because if I'm coming up to a girl and I'm feeling anxious and I accept that and I own that, she's not going to judge me for that because I've accepted it. I'm okay with it. When you accept it, you're okay with it. And so when I come up and I talk to you and I'm a bit anxious, it's a different feeling she gets.
Yeah.
Same with awkwardness, my friend. Like when there's an awkward silence, it's only awkward if you find it awkward.
Yeah, it's very true.
And she will blame you for the awkwardness if you're not okay with the awkwardness. But if you're okay with the awkwardness, she might blame herself, or she might just be comfortable with it. Because when you accept it, you can be okay with it. Right? And I like you said earlier, silence is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Tension is a beautiful thing. If you can learn to have fun with it and play with it,
That's interesting, because one thing I used to do when I was younger, I was very good at compartmentalizing. Still kind of am now.
I think men are really good at doing that in general.
That's one thing I used to do. I refused to feel feelings. Like, if someone hurt me, I was
healthy.
like...
That's healthy.
If someone hurt me, I was like, it's fine. Just like...
push that right down.
Die.
That's it.
But as I've gotten older and I've realized how much it does and will affect my relationships, whether that's in sexual or friendship way, I've realized I need to accept it. For example, whenever I found out that my ex had a new boyfriend, was it in February or something? My housemate came in and told me, he's like,
Can't believe her.
Can't believe she's moved on. When he came and told me, I was like, what? So I obviously went on the Instagram, realized I wasn't blocked, so I was went onto her page, and there he was, and I was like, for fuck's sake, this feel like shit. And then I called you. I think I did call you. I went for a walk with him. I was like, yeah, it's so-and-so, got a boyfriend. And then he was just like, how do you feel? It's like, I don't know. But I'm just trying to accept that
100%.
feeling and just accept the fact I feel like shit. Because normally, I would just pretend it wasn't a problem, shove it to the back of my head. And then next minute, my next girlfriend is just going to get the trauma that I've just instilled on her because I haven't tried to deal with the shit that was going on back then. So now I've started to realize that, as you said, you just got to start accepting
Go through the emotions.
and the emotions that you're going through. It's healthy. It may not feel healthy because it just doesn't feel good sometimes to accept how you feel, but in the long run, for the relationships that you're trying to build, whether that's professional friendships or trying to build a life with a woman, you have to.
I find that sometimes sitting with really complex emotions, whether you've gone through a really bad breakup or whatever it is, if you sit with it, and I find that if I talk to someone about it, it helps me actually. I've come to revelations at the end of that conversation where I've been like, well, that's clearly where that feeling was coming from. I had no idea that that's why I was feeling that way. It was because it wasn't really to do with her. It's because if I was insecure about this or I was anxious about that, and if I would have never accepted this feeling and sat with it and self-reflected it, I would have never been able to resolve it and actually move past it. So I think so many people, they just push it away, but it's you might actually learn something from that to be able to work on yourself moving forward.
Do you have any example of that?
Fucking hell. Oh God, you're a piece of shit.
Just put him in the spot.
I think that I had a really big conversation with one of my best mates back home where in one of my early relationships, I had realised that the reason why I got into it is because she gave me something I couldn't get myself. Okay. So I wasn't a very confident person. And I think as I got through the relationship, when I was 17, 18, my confidence grew. And when it grew to the point that I was comfortable in myself anymore, the relationship naturally ended because I realized that's the biggest reason why I was in that relationship, because it was giving me something I hadn't yet got myself. And once I'd got to that next stage, I was like, it naturally grew apart and I just didn't want to be with her anymore.
Yeah.
And a few years later, I looked back and I was like, that's why it ended. It's because I got what I needed and I wasn't the person I was until I was out the other end of that relationship.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt really shit. I remember after it happened, I felt in a really bad place, not understanding why it was going on. But when I spoke to my mate back home about this, it took about an hour and I was like, fuck, that's why. Like, that's clearly, I didn't get, and, you know, the same with my second relationship. There was something, you know, I'm not going to go into it today, but there were certain things that emotionally I wasn't comfortable with. And when it finally came up and when, you know, I got to that point where I was, things naturally came to an end. And I think so many people sometimes do that. We go through like this roller coaster of emotions with someone, but it's sometimes because we're lacking what we are trying to find ourselves.
Yeah.
I think if I said that in a really messed up way, I went on a bit
sense.
of a roller coaster there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Does that?
Of course.
People are there for a season and
Yeah.
a reason. They're not meant to be there for your whole life. So sometimes you may not know at the time, whenever you're with them, that they're actually there to teach you something.
Yeah.
Until you get, as you did, you get out the other side, you realize, okay, that's what they were there for. And it's not like a spiting people, like you're using them to reach a goal.
No.
It's just like,
It's just a natural,
not
like,
everyone's going to be in your life forever. You know what I mean?
It's like a natural thing.
We're all learning as we go.
yeah. But now I bury emotions deep down because I've told that's really healthy. I do that all the time now. So I'm single till I'm 50. Woo!
Oh,
yeah. What else was we doing?
that was good. I think one of the other things that we wanted to cover was the nice guy versus bad guy.
Yeah, that was something you had on your thing. Would you
Sure.
want to give us a bit of an insight?
Just before we do move on to that, I do say a huge part of being able to deal with your emotions is sometimes just laying down and just being with yourself, not doing anything. You know, sometimes I just lay on the floor,
In silence.
just in silence,
Hug a tree.
and just hug a tree, let what comes up, because we're in a constant lifestyle of doing. Yeah, you know, go to work, come home, social media, just constantly absorbing, doing something. So there is power in just
Meditating.
stopping. Sometimes not even meditating.
You're
you know,
just lying there in the abyss.
and just just accepting. You know, accepting if your thoughts want to wander off, if emotions come up. Yeah, so a huge part of that, learning how to deal with your emotions, is either meditating or just spending some time by yourself. And also, you'll notice throughout the day, sometimes emotions come up. Or maybe you notice your mind going into wandering or going into a lot of thoughts about maybe negative thoughts, quote unquote. There's always an emotion attached behind those thoughts. So if you can locate where you feel that and just accept that, emotions come in waves. And sometimes you'll just locate it, accept it, and it will pass. And you'll notice those thoughts will pass too. Sometimes it won't, but you've got to be, like you said previously, you've got to be okay with that. You know, sometimes you feel sad, so what do? You feel sad. Yeah. It's part of life. You know, we learn things within being sad, being angry, or whatever they may be. But definitely the resistance I have seen creates a lot more problems than learning to accept them.
100%.
And
Do you find meditating helps? Do you meditate?
Sometimes. Yeah. But look, man, each to their own.
I can't. I find it so difficult.
My mind just goes off.
But that's the focus.
Happen,
that's what
meditating is.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant to like.
Yeah,
that's what I used to think. It's like I'm meant to have an empty mind. But then I spoke to someone and they're like, no, when your mind wanders, it's you realizing it's wandering away, and then you bring it back. You just have to constantly be bringing. And then it's impossible to completely empty your mind of no thought. It's like, especially if you've got a busy life. So like the idea of meditating is that you sit in silence or with your music or whatever, and then you may start thinking about, oh my goodness, I forgot to buy eggs at the supermarket. But then you bring yourself back, say, okay, no, that's not what I'm meant to be doing right now. So it's just constant back and forth, and it's like a muscle you have to practice and get better at it.
Fair.
It's bloody hard though.
Fair.
But I would say there are different forms of meditation, so you don't always have to focus on the breath. The one that I teach guys to learn how to transmute their sexual energy is you imagine where you feel your arousal. So usually it's in the groin section, and you imagine that as energy or as light. And then as you inhale through your nose, you breathe that energy up through your body, through your spine, up to the top of your head, and you exhale it down into your heart. Or you can do many ways. Sometimes I imagine that sexual energy in the groin area. And as I inhale, I imagine that the energy coming out through my body. And even today, I was laying down in a park on the grass. I imagined the energy coming out through my body, and I imagined my body like raising up. And then I exhaled, I imagined my body like grounding into the floor. And I tell you, man, just after 5 or 10 minutes of doing that, I woke up and I was a lot more peaceful, a lot more calm, a lot more centered, clear-minded. In my opinion, I'd transmuted that energy. So
I think it's be a good time to go into some of the questions that we were asked.
Yeah, go on.
Sure.
Got a few decent ones. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but it's called the male and the female gaze. Have you heard of that term?
As in how you look, the gaze? I haven't heard of...
So, yeah, someone messaged in saying, do you have an opinion on the male and the female gaze? So pretty much what that is, it's how males perceive how women see them and how females perceive males. So, for example, you may wonder, like, when you see a guy with a really fit girl and you're like, how did he get her? And people have said it's because what men think women want and what men think women need is completely different to what they actually. So you might think, oh, this nerd, how did he get this really fit girl? That's because, like, most women aren't looking for that guy with a six-pack. Just want a nice dude. What a nice dude. So that person asked about that, like, what do you think men's perception of what women see?
Yeah, what do women really want?
Yeah, what do women really
Great
want?
question. I wouldn't say there's, like, one thing, in my opinion, but I would say that, like, guys, I noticed a tendency that guys believe that good looks, like being in shape, having a lot of money, are like the be all and end all. And I'm not negating that those things don't help.
Yeah.
But I believe there are more important things that you can focus on. But also in saying that, like, what does someone that is in shape also exude? He exudes maybe self-respect. He exudes that, he's healthy. He's okay to reproduce. So there are some instinctual behaviors why people find other people attractive due to, looking good or having certain measurements or body fat percentage or, body composition. So to answer that question, to answer what do women really want, there is quite a few things, I believe.
Yeah.
That, so to go into this...
This would be interesting to hear from, like, a male's point of view, what we think.
Let me just reflect on what I believe might be, like, the most important aspects.
From your experience, because I'm sure you've spoken to women and they've been like, this is what I want, this is what I need.
Yeah, but...
Should I say
this?
Seconds.
Should I say this?
We can definitely.
There's a great quote.
We can edit it out if need be.
We're keeping it in.
You don't ask a fish how to catch a fish. You ask a fisherman.
Okay.
Okay, can you give some context?
So when you ask women what they want, all right, they might tell you what they think they want.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't really know what they want. Maybe they're saying something, but again, it's like men coming to me saying, I want to do this, but why do you want to do that? Why do you really want to do that? Why do you want the blonde, one with big tits on your arm? You want her on your arm because you want the validation from the boys.
Yeah.
You want the validation from other people, so you feel of worth. How about we just develop that self-worth first, and then you get the girl?
Bars, mate.
That's a good point.
Bars.
That's a very good point.
I like that.
So that's what I mean. You've got to dig deep into what they really want, and that's why I say you sell them on what they want, but you give them what you need. Yes, I do give these guys dating advice on, like, how to approach, how to be a good conversationalist, how to deal with your emotions better. But the real concepts that I teach, are concepts that help them to develop themselves, and as a byproduct, they attract the things they want: success, money, women, happiness.
And it also goes into, as we grow as humans, whether that's single or in relationships, the things you want and need change all the time. So whenever you go initially into a relationship, you're thinking, okay, this is what I need from a partner, this, and this. And you get with that person who has all that. And as that relationship develops, you realize that they're not actually giving you everything that you now need. Like, okay, they're not as affectionate as I thought they were going to be, and I actually need that from them.
Yeah.
especially over time, you're just like, okay, what I needed at the start is completely different now, and they're not able to provide that. And that's why a lot of people break up as well. It's like, as the relationship develops, there's aspects of that person that come to light, because you're always going to be the best of the best when you first meet someone. And as you get comfortable, you start seeing the cracks, you start seeing the things as to why their ex hated them in the last relationship, etc. And I think learning what you want initially, yeah, that's great, but it's just going to change. And you shouldn't like take what someone tells you at the start at face value, really, because you know, okay, what you saying is perfect. Let's try this. But you know, in a year or two's time, there's going to be something else from the relationship or from you that they're going to need. And whether that you're able to navigate that and be what they need and be what they want, that's a whole other story, isn't it? That's what I find.
So sorry, just to come back to the question on what women really want is, yes, women do say what they want, but again, sometimes they're not. They might say, I just want a guy that's confident. But like confidence is so, it's such, there's so many sub branches of confidence. There's situational confidence. Like there's like driving your car. You're confident in driving your car, but you might not be confident in talking to a woman, right? Confidence is situational, and there's so many aspects, like confidence in your self-worth, confidence in a social setting. There's like, that's what I mean. So when women say what they want, sometimes they might say something that doesn't really give you a clear actionable next step, or also they might say something like I've seen plenty of girls say you know, I want like like I want the guy that isn't interested in me. You know, have you heard that before? Like, I want the guy I can't have.
I've heard that before.
Yeah.
And I believe this is probably, if I was, men and women want a lot of things. Okay, most guys think that men just want, you know, a woman that's beautiful, and yes, I do believe that is a huge factor to what men do want. But I believe there's other things that men truly do want inherently, and same with women. There's a lot of things that women really want. But if I had to give one piece of advice that kind of just links into what I was saying, is that why is it that a woman is so attracted to the man that she can't have? Why do you guys believe that is so?
Because we always want what we can't have.
Yeah, but why? Yeah, why is that? Why do we want what we can't have? Why is unobtainability the biggest aphrodisiac?
Because is it because we feel like we're punching? That's why. So it's a nice feeling to have that.
Yeah, that could be. I definitely think there's more than one reason. But
I think the unobtainability, I think an aspect of it is the chase, the excitability of potentially getting something that once was not attainable. And I also feel like, as we said, people like what they want, what they can't have. And also the fact that someone's unattainable, they probably give off that energy as well. It's like I saw this the other day, it's like a girl could, this is generally speaking, generalize women for you listening. A girl could be at a party and get all the attention from 10 men at her hands and feet, and she would not care. And then the one guy that walks in that just doesn't give her any attention will be the one that she wants. And it's because that energy of uninterested and unattainable. It's like the apple in the Garden of Eden. Not allowed to have it, but
we're going biblical with this.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Not allowed to have it, but of all the fruits, they decided to take that one. You know what I mean? Because that was the one that was gonna fuck shit up. That was the one that was gonna make life change and be different.
So
am I somewhat?
Yeah. I think you all have valid points. Yeah. But if we bring it back to giving guys a piece of advice, if they decide to try to be unobtainable, then it's not genuine. And eventually there will be cracks in your behavior, and a woman will soon find out that you are like those other 10 guys. So it's not about trying to be unobtainable. In my opinion, it's about envisioning who you would be if you already had that. And it's about focusing more on your values, who you are, as opposed to like what you're doing. And I'll give you an example. So if you already had like your friend who has that girlfriend and who finds girls just coming to him, he's probably not sitting in the corner being sad and needy or going up to girls
Getting
and
amongst it, yeah.
yeah, he's probably focusing on giving instead of taking, right? And think about some of the most successful and happy people in the world. A large part of their life is giving, is serving others, you know, and you don't want to get this misconstrued to like giving conditionally. Like, okay, I've got to go out and I've got to buy her flowers or buy her drinks, you know. A lot of guys buy her drinks so she stays with him.
Yeah, that's
conditional giving, you know. A giving's got to be from a place of it's a gift. It's okay if you don't like it or if you do, but I believe if you can start to step in the realm of focusing more outwardly, a lot of your problems will resolve. You'll reach a lot greater levels of happiness. Think about anxiety, and anxiety is an internal focus. You know, it's like how people are perceiving me. It's all about you. But if you can just look outwardly and start observing other people, suddenly it changes your focus. So in my opinion, it's about stepping more into the side of focusing more on others as opposed to yourself. If I could give,
that's some good advice.
Give a good advice. Because think about this too. When a guy comes in and he's focusing on how he can get laid, like that's his main intention
for the night.
For the night. Okay. Now I'm not saying that you can't have that intention, but if you're coming in just trying to get laid as your main priority, then you will compromise your values. You'll do things to manipulate her. You won't respect her. You'll do everything to get laid. But if your focus is coming in to have fun and
have a conversation,
and as a byproduct, she has fun too. Think about where that can go.
100%. Yeah.
So I would say if I had to leave it on just one word, maybe it's just others.
I like that.
Got one more question, and I kind of. So this is probably the last question. This is from a woman. What do women do that turn men off and on?
Do you guys want to?
Oh yeah, I'll give that a crack.
Go ahead.
Let me just pull up my notes here in my back pocket. Don't shag me. That's irritating. No, I'm joking.
Go for what turns you off.
Turns me off. Turn-ons are just like confidence, massively. Confidence is a real huge thing, and you can like smell confidence on a date over messaging. Someone who doesn't just let you lead every single part of the conversation. They're creative in their conversation. I think confidence is a big thing. A turn off.
Sorry, man. Could you further define how you confidence in a woman, like along with leading conversation? Could you give some other points?
Someone who. Okay, so on a first date, confidence you can see with like body language. It's like body language if someone's always like sitting there, kind of like hands crossed the whole time, kind of like can't give you a lot of eye contact. It comes across like they're not very comfortable in the situation. But if someone's very comfortable in themselves, they're comfortable, in their setting, they're okay with their hands being down, they're not like sitting all the way back. If you're talking, it's engaged as they'll like sit on the table and like, I'm actually engaged in what you're talking about. And that's something I do. If I'm interested, I'll lean on the table just to show I am actually engaged in the conversation. Does that answer that question?
Yeah.
Something that is a turn off. I don't know. I'm trying to think now. Let's be PC with this.
Anything that comes to your mind?
For turn off or turn on?
People that like, I think I've had it on a few dates where you've been there and you ask a question and you try to get a conversation going.
And they don't ask you a question back.
And they just talk about themselves the whole time.
Yeah,
and usually look, if they're talking about themselves, you don't just then say something about you. So I'll be like, ask a question, but it's like, usually you'll be like, so what about you? What's your thoughts on that? And when they don't come back with it, it's just like, that's a big opening. I had this on a date. I had this recently on a date. This is a true story. I was on a date with someone and I could tell she is the kind of woman that like takes charge a lot. And I said, what is it you're looking for? Like in like a bloke when you go on a date, what is it you're looking for? She's like an alpha male. Like I want someone to take charge. I'm like, hey, why is that so important to you? She's like, because I feel like I lead in every part of my life that I want someone to do that for me. I'm always leading the conversation. And I was like, would you not be a really great way to not lead the conversation the whole time? Ask me a question back. You could have done that. You could have done that the whole time.
And how did she take that?
And she was like, yeah, you make it. I knew she would take it quite well because she was a very confident extroverted person, so I knew she wouldn't be offended by it. But I was like, you could have just asked me a question. The whole time she went, yeah, that's true. The reason why I'm like this, and just went on to talk about herself. I was like, mate, I can't. I was like, all right, no worries.
That's funny.
But yeah, she kept just, yeah, that is like, for me, it's just, yeah, it's a bit of a turn off when someone just speaks about themselves the whole time.
For me, a turn on is a woman that's ambitious, has some sort of idea of where she wants to be or go in life. She doesn't have to be there. She doesn't have to actually have started on that journey, but it's like, okay, this is where I see myself, and so on and so forth. In the future, I also want a girl that's passionate about something. Can be anything.
Like what?
It could be passionate about art, passionate about music, passionate about being fit. Obviously, confidence. I feel like that's just a prerequisite for any sort of interaction with a woman. Confidence. And also someone who is loving. Someone who's not afraid to actually be loving towards me or friends or family, and someone who's also got a good relationship with their family. That's a big one for me as well. And turn offs, probably same as you. Someone who's just very much will happily just talk about themselves the whole date, doesn't ask questions. Someone who is rude to waiters, waitresses.
Yeah,
for sure. You can just tell if that's like thing. If they're not like nice, we're just like, oh god, here we go. This is not good. And then also a turn off is someone that doesn't see a relationship as equal. Like if they feel like the male should be the one that instigates everything, asks you out, pays. If I go on a first date and a girl doesn't offer me to pay, that's the only date we're going on. Because if the first date's the nicest you're supposed to be, and you're not gonna like even pretend that you're gonna pay, I don't even care if you don't. Like if as long as you offer, I'm happy. But if you don't even offer, that just speaks volumes. I saw this thing years ago. It's just like, if I go on a first date and I don't pay for the first date, my parents didn't raise me right. But if I go on a first date and a girl doesn't offer to pay, then her parents didn't raise her right. And I was just like, boom. Because
bars.
I don't I'll happily pay on a first date, I'll happily pay on a second date. But especially from the first date, if you don't even offer to pay, like even just say, oh, I'll get it. No, it's fine. Fine. We'll split. No, it's okay. I'll pay. Sweet. But if there's no offer, then it's like, okay, then I don't know.
I'll say that when I'm looking at the bill, sweating. I'll pay. Please say something.
What about you, Drew? What about you? What about
I'd
you?
say I was
just going to interrupt. Sorry, just to go back to the confidence thing. I realise now one of the things I actually wanted to say. Yeah. I realise you said 4 things. I said 2. It makes me look so easy. As
long as she's got a heartbeat, I'm good to go.
It's funny because it's true.
Or can we edit that bit out?
No, not at all.
So the thing about confidence, what I was going to say is someone who's confident to call you out on your shit when you're speaking.
Fair.
I find that such a... If you say something stupid, someone like picks up on the banter, they're like, fuck, he's chatting bollocks. I love that.
I do that on you all the time.
Well,
I'm a bit weird.
But I love that. I love that. I love that on a date where you've got that chemistry where someone's confident enough. If you say something that doesn't make sense or is a bit stupid, they'll call you out on it.
Yeah.
That is a really attractive trait in someone that I find.
Okay.
What about you? Because you've obviously got your clients and stuff, so I'm sure they've come back with you some serious...
I'm sorry, for my clients or for myself personally?
Well, both. So let's go for you, and then obviously you've heard from other men.
Okay. Actually, do you mind if we start around the other way?
Yeah, go on ahead.
If a guy ever comes to me and he has a complaint about a woman, I like to teach him about the mirror principle, which basically states that your external world is a mirror reflection of your internal world. Yeah. So before trying to fix the external, fix yourself first and see if the external world fixes. So if he finds that all the girls in his life are manipulative, maybe where in his life is he being manipulative?
I feel like this reflects to one of our mates.
And then your external world reflects. So I don't tend to try to dwell on that much with guys. But there definitely are things that I look out for with the women that I see. I would say the things that I like is if a girl actually does pay, like she goes out of her way to
pay,
I don't know, find a way to pay. That's like I'll put a ring on that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Which one do you want?
Yeah. So that's a big one for me. Touch. I like physical touch.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Physical touch, vulnerability, being able to open up about things and talk about herself. So that, I believe, leads into confidence.
Yeah.
Is having confidence in who she is.
I really should have said more than 2 things. Now I look.
Shut up.
So, man. Things I don't like. I think you touched on a really great point, which was not treating each other as equals.
Yeah.
What do you? Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some other examples of that? You touched on like, it's a misconception of maybe how a woman should be and how a man should be. I feel like there's a lot of toxic masculinity and femininity.
Yeah, there
I
is.
believe we have both feminine and masculine traits, and I believe sometimes telling men that they need to be a certain way or women a certain way really limits us as human beings.
100%.
Yeah, definitely agree.
Anything else that really comes to mind? What else do I like? That I like girls that are adventurous, that like my shitty humor, that are just like a girl that's just open. I'd say open, open to try new things, do new things, is open-minded, has fun, like we can be in the kitchen and just having the best time ever.
Yeah.
Like I've been with girls in the kitchen and we've got music on, we're cooking, like I'm pushing her, she's, making a mess and we're just having a fun time, at like the most simplest things. I went out with a girl the other night and we just went out and looked at the moon. It was a beautiful, calm night and we just sat there. There was a lot of silences, there was a lot of embracing, but you can learn a lot from just being with someone. Being with someone, holding them and just their presence.
Love that.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Mate, we've covered
loads.
We've covered a lot.
Proper happy with that. For sure.
Mate, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
No,
you guys are awesome.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
Do you want to plug your social media handles?
Tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah. Any men out there that need any help, just give Drew a shout.
Search my name. Just Drew
Derriman.
We'll tag you in the. We'll tag you in the.
I don't even think there's any other Drew Derrimans out there because I typed your full name and you're the only one that came up. So
just type my name and
have the name and you pop up.
Go from there.
You see his face. All right, thank you very much, everyone. If you've listened this far, hope you've enjoyed it. Some massive golden nuggets in there that will be
some juicy ones.
Sharing. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel,
like,
follow
share,
us on
everything.
Do all that good stuff. But thank you very much, everyone. Peace.